What's up, everybody? Welcome to Strength Solutions Podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify. You can rate and review us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below and tell me you love that I have a big beard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, and put your notifications on. Then our website is strengthsolutionspodcast.com. We have free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. Our email is strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. If you have future fitness questions or questions you want us to answer on here, we could go ahead and do that. And then social media, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram is Strength Solutions Podcast. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Okay, dude. So I was thinking, we had this talk with this kid on Tuesday, and he asked us, how do we build bigger shoulders, right?
Oh, right.
And it made me think, what are the biggest myths that we hear about, like, building muscle and things like that? What do I got to do? And he was like talking to us like, this is a hypertrophy range. This is the strength range. So I don't really build muscle, but I build strength. And we try to kind of like really tell him that that was a big myth.
Quickly, right?
Yeah. And you're like, look at strongmen. They lift very heavy, right?
Those dudes are huge.
Those dudes are huge. Powerlifters, they lift very heavy. Those dudes are huge. Now, if I was sculpting the body, that's where the bodybuilder form and technique really pays off and very isolating. And we're just trying to, there's a lot of myths that you hear out there all day, every day. And that's one of them. You could build muscle in many ranges of motion rep ranges.
Well, and also ranges of motion.
That's true.
I was building some programs with a client the other day. We kind of just sat down and we were just talking about programming in general.
I thought you made up you had clients.
Yeah. They're from a different gym. You wouldn't know. Oh, okay. I promise they're real.
I thought this was like your magic group or something.
Yeah. And so I was talking to her and we were going back and forth about stuff, and I'd built this one program right with her and kind of talking about it. And I was like, okay, look, I want you to do this one program for the next like 6 weeks, just these exercises back and forth. She was like, what, really? And I was like, yeah, just do that only. And she was like, well, I don't need to do something different every time or whatever. And I was like, nope, like you should be able to make progress doing this. And in fact, you should see more consistent progress doing a workout like this. But this brings me to the myth, right? That every day you need to be doing something different, right? Every day you need to be shocking your body, right? That's a big one that's been out there for forever, right? And, or, this day I need to make sure I do 15 reps and next week I'm going to do, strength. And then the week after that, I'm going to work on my endurance and all this stuff. And, there's this myth right around that you have to make sure that you're constantly changing and your body never has time to adapt and blah, blah, blah. And while the concept in general is true, it doesn't need to be done so drastically every single day, right? Changing things around.
Yeah, and I would argue with trained individuals, it's more likely to work versus untrained individuals.
Fair.
And people who don't have a lot of experience lifting, because you really have to have a different mindset when you're lifting heavy versus endurance. So imagine having to switch your mindset every day.
And some people even do it in the workout. They're like, no, I do my bench for 5 reps, and then I'm going to do this for 12, and then I'm going to do this one for, but for my shoulders, I do this much, and it's like, oh my God.
just a mindset thing. Also, it's hard for someone who's newer to lifting to know exactly where their strength is at. And so I know where I'm strength at because I've been lifting for years. Sure. I know about what my 5 rep range is for a certain, exercise. But also if I don't touch that exercise like a bench press for a long time, I kind of don't know where my 5 rep range is from. Yeah. Like if it's been a year and I'm like, I haven't benched for a year just because I just haven't done it.
How would you know?
How do I know? I have to start somewhere and just like repeat the process to get better at that skill set too. Because it's skill acquisition as well, right?
Definitely.
Another one that I love? Beast mode, no pain, no gain.
Oh yeah. No, that's true.
I think you should really change it to, you have to challenge yourself, but it doesn't mean if you're sore, you're getting better. And it took me a while to learn this.
Yeah. Even for us, right? I mean, that's kind of what you're told, right? You got to be sore. You got to be wrecked. You got to work hard.
Oh man. I hear it all the time.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, even in today, right? Like there's still trainers that I've seen, that are like still living by that mantra, and their clients walk out, looking like they need crutches. It's like, and they're sitting there all proud of themselves about what they did. And, a lot of my clients, I'm sure yours too. I've had one recently tell me, she was like, a long time ago, I would have never really liked working out like this. I was always trying to get super sweaty and and I needed to make sure that I was in here working really, really hard. But now, you know, I understand that I have to have a rest period. I understand that, you know, I'm just looking for something different, right? Like your perspective changes on the workout, but it takes a long time, right? Because I feel like if you're new and you're coming into working out, you're probably going to go by this, right? You're probably going to go by how sore was I the next day? You know, oh man, I left leg day and I was sore for the next 4 days, you know, and you're like, I killed it. And the reality is that you're probably doing the exact opposite of what you want to do, right? Yeah. I mean, well, a little bit of soreness is fine, right? Maybe 1-2 days, okay. But if I tell my clients, I'm like, if you're having trouble, you know, getting off the toilet after a leg day, we probably did a little too much, you know, and you gotta let me know.
Now, I will say there's circumstances at extreme levels like bodybuilders or somebody who's like pushing the limits, but they're also eating a certain way to allow for the recovery. And maybe they're doing like PPC 157 or certain enhanced drugs.
They have the tools.
They have the tools to help recover from these things that the average person does not do.
And I think that's where we kind of also get mixed up too, right? Is I don't know if this is maybe built into one of our topics here, but like the myth of doing what your idols do, right? Especially on social media, right? Like where, you know, you look on social media today and everybody's a damn idol, right? You're a normal person. You know, we got people like Lean Beef Patty and Sam Sulik and things like that who are just like, you know, they're probably someone that you could meet, you know, and they're way beyond, right? And you look at their workouts and you're like, okay, well, he's jacked. He's huge. I should be doing that exact same workout.
He's taking steroids. He eats a certain way.
Right.
It's his life.
And the reality is that it's not you, right? And that's okay. It's okay that it's not you. You can still get progress. But we have to learn that myth, right, of working out like Arnold did or like Ronnie did or all those guys is not going to get you the same results because you don't have the same life or toolbox.
This leads me to the next point, which is there's not one way to eat and there's not one way to work out.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
You know, and when you work out, let's say I want to bodybuild, you could do bodybuilding. You could work out to be a better hiker or a better like kayaker. What do you want to do with your life?
Yeah.
Stop letting fitness dictate you like by you got to look jacked. You got to look this. You know what? The happiest people are not jacked people.
Oh yeah.
There are happy jacked people, but because they're not chasing that constant look, they're chasing being a better person, being better at an activity that they enjoy. They tend to be happier because of it.
We were talking to another person recently at the same time as that young kid, and she was telling us about someone she knew who was, you know, kind of in that bodybuilding world and how it's sort of been all consuming, right? It's sort of taken over their whole life, you know, and they're constantly unhappy about their aesthetic, you know, even though I bet some people would be sitting there being,
you look amazing.
You want to kill for that, you know? And the thing is, like you said, yeah, there isn't just one way to do anything. It's all based on the way that you need it done, right? And so, like you said, if I want to be a great hiker, okay, then work out in a way that's going to, you know, benefit you for your goal or sport or whatever it is, right? It doesn't mean you had, you know, if I was a hiker, maybe I'm not going to do super heavy squats, right? Or crazy bench.
Maybe you're doing more walking lunges, step ups. Like you're doing lateral work.
Exactly. Or maybe I'm doing my Cossack squat, you know, left to right, or maybe I'm working more on my grip strength, right? To get over hills or rocks or whatever it is. And it just all depends on what you're trying to do. And I think it goes even more, like you said, not one way to eat. Right? There's so many different ways.
If you like that watermelon, boy, get that watermelon and just,
and you just
put a little lime and salt in it.
And you just do what works, right? And what is going to work for your goal. If you want to cut, okay, then you got to find what's going to work for you.
So we talk a lot of times 1 gram per pound of body weight, right? And we know a lot of people are not going to reach it. It's just a goal to get you to an essential amount.
Yeah.
And if you could find your essential amount, which could be different depending on activity of the day that you're having, or you're working out really hard that day, you may need a little bit more. It's about figuring out this through a process.
Yeah.
And I think too many times they're like, you have to eat this way. You have to eat that way. No processed foods. Find out what works for you. If you're a person who can handle like a processed food, but not like obsess over it and then have it at your house. Like I can't have brownies or chips sometimes.
Corn.
Well, I can't have corn at all. I can't digest it. But it's one of those things, just don't bring it into your house. Now, if you're a person like who, like, I remember I bought the kids like goldfish, I'm not going to eat a goldfish.
I don't care about goldfish.
I don't care about it, right? So, like, it's okay to have them in my house. But, you know, it's learning how to make those little suggestions and barriers for you, you know?
I can't buy chips, man. Cannot buy potato chips.
Bro, this guy, you put a hot Cheeto bag in there, gone.
Destroy it.
I don't care if it's a super family size one, gone.
No, that's a personal size, bro.
That's a personal size.
Give me a day. I'll be done with it.
And the last myth I want to go before we go on to my favorite topic is, you know, there's just this thing about fitness and health that it's just about exercise and nutrition. Mm-hmm. And it is not just about exercise and nutrition, because your friends matter. Your sleep matters. So it's not just those two. All these things have a very symbiotic relationship. They all rely on each other.
Yeah.
And they help each other.
And if one isn't doing well, you can see how the rest kind of tend to collapse, right? You may be able to run a little bit on less sleep, or maybe a little more isolated from social life or whatever it is, but none of them are sustainable without each other, right? And I feel like this is where maybe one of the things that we do differently, you know, as compared to others. I think it's getting a lot more popular, or maybe it's just our bubble. But I think that when I'm talking to a client, I'm looking at all of these aspects, right? What job do you have? Are you going through anything right now? If you are you going to therapy? You know, do you have childhood trauma? You know, how did you get to this weight? Or why aren't you happy at the weight that you're at, right? Yeah. We need to talk about these things because these are all going to become barriers that stop them from reaching their goal.
I'll give you a personal barrier that I have, or something that happened to me in a long time. I was always expected to eat seconds.
Oh yeah.
And so till this day, I have to like fight myself from going back and eating seconds. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. It just depends. Especially when I go into big family gatherings.
Oh yeah.
Not so much when I'm home alone.
Yeah, right. And I mean, same, right, with me. I mean, I think it's just kind of that, like, I don't want to say Hispanic in total, but like, I don't know, something about the culture.
Eating your stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I see that
like a turkey.
I see it in a lot of cultures too, like in Indian culture, in Black culture, in Hispanic culture, Mexican, whatever it is. There's something about like eating a lot equals being healthy. You know?
And it's because it comes from a scarcity mindset. When we didn't have abundance, right. I get where. So you're trying to eat as much as you can when you can.
But you got to realize we're not there anymore.
We're not. Yeah.
In fact, there's way too much damn food, and we probably shouldn't be eating as much of it at all.
And we're not moving as much.
Yeah. I remember when I was younger and I first started like my, I don't know, fitness journey, I guess, you know, I could say my junior year of high school. Dude, my family would be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to eat healthy? You know, like, what's wrong with you? Why do you run so much? What, you know, and I was talking to one of the trainers that we know, and we were kind of passing back stories and stuff like that. And she was saying that whenever she goes back home, that her family is like, so when are you going to stop growing? When are you going to stop like building muscle? Like, when are you going to like, when are you going to get skinny again? Yeah. And she's like, what the hell? And I was like, that's insane. You know that, but some cultures are just like that.
They equate skinny into healthy when sometimes skinny is healthy.
Maybe.
Right. But there's also unhealthy skin.
Yeah. I was talking to a client the other day. We've talked about it, where they did a study, I guess, where they had like quote unquote skinny people compared to people who were overweight, but the overweight people exercised and the smaller people did not. And the overweight people actually had better blood work, right, than the smaller people. And it's just based on the fact that they were exercising, right?
And it just shows you how vital exercise is.
So weight doesn't always equal healthy or not, right? You could be overweight and unhealthy. You could be underweight and unhealthy, you know, and it just is, it just depends.
It encompasses a lot, because if someone's under eating too, they're less likely to get good sleep. Right.
They're probably stressed, right?
Yeah.
They probably, I don't know, don't go out as much. Maybe they don't have money.
So they're skinny, but their body percent fat is probably really high.
Super high.
And their visceral fat.
Oh, yeah.
That's where it really matters.
So, you know.
All right, let's go to my first topic.
Let's talk about somebody that doesn't have any visceral fat.
All right. So what I'm going to go in this is when people see people on Instagram or social media, you really got to go with some of these people's empathy. And when they're so extreme, they believe in something. And watching the Liver King documentary made me have empathy for him. And I think a lot of people are short of that, right? And understanding, like, you tell as he's talking, he's lost.
Damn.
From his mentality from when he was young, the things that he did when he was younger, like running scams.
Oh, shit.
Did you not watch it?
I did not know he did that.
Yeah. He's actually from San Antonio. He went to, he went to Marshall High School. Dang. Anyways.
So hold on. You said running scams.
So there was one scam. He like printed out money. There was another scam where
holy shit.
At GNC when he worked there, you can actually like, if people return half used like creatine or whatever, you would get money back for it because they were like, I don't like this. He would take that half used creatine, print out a receipt, go to a different GNC to get money.
Oh, so he would return it again.
Double return.
God. So he's always been kind of a little
sketch. Now, I'm going to tell you the good things that he did.
Okay.
I think he brought back like, okay, liver and animal food is actually good for you.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think he also brought back like the concept of liver, kidneys, brain, testicles do have nutrients and they were delicacies back in the day. Now, I'm not saying you have to eat them.
Sure.
Right. But they do have a lot of nutrients in them. And in America, we're low on nutrients.
We definitely do not eat organ meats in American culture. That's not a big part of it.
And he did help a lot of people at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess so.
He got people motivated and stuff like that. Now, the bad and ugly part is he lied to people about his body. And I wish people were just honest whether they took steroids or not. Because a lot of these bodies that you see that are amazing, they're taking HGH, they're taking hormone replacements, they're taking fucking peptides, they're taking a lot of things.
Again, they have that toolbox, right?
And they're using that toolbox. And trust me, I can make my body look better by taking these things because one, it speeds up my metabolism. I pretty much can eat the same and get away with more. Two, build more muscle.
Yeah, you probably lift less and get more results.
My recovery will be better. So I can lift heavier because I'm taking human growth hormone. And it just makes things easier, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's wrong for doing it. I think he's wrong for lying that it was all animal products.
Yeah, I mean, if he would have come out when he first started and said, hey, I do carnivore, right? I work out like this. I also take these supplements, right? But I do think that this has helped me get to where I'm at. You know, he probably would have been safe. You know, you probably could have gotten really far on that, or maybe even the same, or maybe even more, right? But, and then you come out and you have like this whole downfall, right? Where it's like now everything's going backwards. And you told me what, he's eating veggies now?
He's eating fruits and veggies now. He's becoming a little bit more spiritual. So it's like another scam kind of thing, right?
Damn.
And so I just think he just can't help it. He wants to be accepted. You could tell, even when you were looking at his kids, the older son looked like he's fine. The younger kid looks like, just like body language wise, looking for acceptance. You could just see it or whatever.
How interesting. Yeah. Did they talk about like his childhood?
They talk a little bit of childhood about the beginning and him wanting acceptance and that his dad was a badass and stuff like that. So, I mean, I have empathy because a lot of it does stem from childhood for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they don't realize it. Like we just talked about our eating habits and being in a Hispanic culture and things like that makes a huge difference. It's just insane. So there is this thing, right? And there's a lot of protests going on and stuff like that. And it really made me think today, and I wasn't going to get into this, but I think the problem in society is the empathy part and viewing from their only way they want to view from.
One perspective.
And so like they've done videos, and I love when they do this, is they put like Trump in 2020 versus what he says today on the National Guard thing or anything that comes. It just shows you people are more about backing their side versus finding the real answer.
Yeah.
And that's the problem we're having like with society. And that's as deep as I want to go for myself.
Yeah, I mean, in a similar concept, you know, there's so much like back and forth. And I think in a way, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about like acceptance and stuff. Just recently, I think Elon got like ousted his position or whatever.
Yeah.
From
That's your boy.
Yeah, I know.
My boy Blue.
And he was on X or whatever talking about it, and he was saying all this stuff about like Trump and everything like that. And then a few days later, he was like, I think I went too far. I shouldn't have said that. You know, I take it back, whatever. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, probably because Trump offered him something behind the table, right?
Yeah. Or the fact of like,
he's losing a lot of stuff.
now I'm losing followers.
It has nothing to do with being a good person.
Right. It just has to do with being accepted, right? Whether that is like genuine or not, right? Some people just need that. And it's unfortunate. You know?
Okay. Yeah. And so we talk about therapy all the time. And I was listening to this guy talk about therapy, and he was talking about like mental therapy and somatic therapy need to combine. And I was like, man, that's brilliant. Okay. So I'm just going to try something with you. Think about a time where you were stressed out, hurting.
Okay.
Tell me where you feel it.
My hands right now.
What color is it?
What color is it? The first color that comes to mind is like yellow. Mm-hmm. I guess it's like bright.
Does it feel shaky?
It feels nervous. I guess if I could say that.
Do you feel like you get that in stressful moments a lot? Like your hands feel like they're moving?
Yes, definitely. Okay. Yeah.
I want you to place your hands over your heart.
Okay. Both
hands, yeah.
Okay.
I want you to take deep breaths, and then I want you to think about something positive. Right. What does it feel like? What color is it?
First color that comes to mind is purple.
Okay.
Feels like a weight's lifted.
Does it feel like you could like take deeper breaths?
Yeah.
Do you feel like the shake went away?
Feels like you are out of a bad situation, right? Like when you have that relief.
Yeah, your hands are solid now.
Yeah. Feels better. Yeah.
So he talks about how the body holds certain responses. So it's your hand. For me, I could feel like right in my gut. Right. And so he's like, you have to not just train your brain, you got to train your nervous system in the physical area where you're having trouble with.
Yeah.
And so it was just a quick like, oh, this is da-da-da.
It's so funny because like, you know, I've had experience with therapy and things like that. And I have a friend who I recommended a therapist as well too. And we've kind of like gone back and forth in our experience, right, going through it and stuff, because we were both kind of like the first people in our families to like go to therapy, so we don't really have a lot of people to talk to about it, and we have like similar backgrounds and things. And now I never went through somatic therapy. It was something that I had thought about for a moment, but you know, it just never really seemed like the right strategy, I guess, for what I was going through. But the concept of your body holding on to like trauma, right, is huge, right? I mean, I feel like this is something that is at this point relatively well known. I mean, I've even seen like how they do like these whole yoga seminars with like
people crying, or massages when people cry.
And you like release, you know, something, and it's connected to your, you know, mental, right, health as opposed to your physical health, as I should say. And they really do need to work together. I think the combination of the two, instead of using them as a strategy, right? Like, oh no, I think that you need somatic therapy. I think that you need traditional talk therapy. Why are we not just doing them together? Because regardless, both of them are happening.
Almost like you should do strength training and cardio.
Yeah, right. Or in the same way that you should be doing therapy and exercise, right? Like all of these things are connected.
They're all symbiotic. They can interweb connected. I don't understand why we're so much into separating shit out.
I don't know. I remember a long time ago when I was in school, I had a biology teacher, and she said, because we were going over like taxonomies, which is like how species are like categorized, like genus, family, you know, species, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, humans just have this like need to box things up.
Categories things.
They just like have to.
I think that's the problem with today. A lot of politics stuff.
I don't know why we have this.
Because we got to be right.
Maybe, yeah. Or we have to have like a justification for something. But it's like deeply ingrained in the human psyche to like
we have to identify
with that category. And it's like,
I mean, it goes back to us saying that you don't have to lift one way or
another. And it's hard to get rid of that, right? But
it's human nature.
I think the moment that you really can at least understand and kind of release yourself from that, you can start to make a lot of progress that maybe you were falling back on.
So, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. This is an extreme example. People say Kamala Harris wasn't emotionally intelligent enough to be president.
Okay.
Because she's a woman.
She wasn't emotionally intelligent?
She wasn't emotionally intelligent.
Okay.
What the fuck's going on right now with two men?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter in gender, right? That's just being biased and categorizing women as emotional.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
If anything, I would almost say that she was like...
I'm just saying it happens. I'm not going to go any further.
Yeah.
We categorize. It's just...
We do, right?
It's just, that's the problem. We got to look at individuals and look at things that... Who's in front of us and stuff like that, you know? But also in relationships, did you know this? Men and women that are 7 years older don't fare as well as their partner that's 7 years younger, typically.
I saw that. Yes.
It was a really good study, and it makes a lot of sense. Why? Because if you're 7 years older, you're typically the one that's probably going to have the financial burden. You're probably dealing with the more difficult issues.
You may be holding more
Accountability, right? And so the younger person gets to just ride on the coattails and get to enjoy it. And I'm not saying they're really riding the coattails, but they don't have as much stress pressed on them. And that's why I do think a lot of women want older men because they're more financially dependent, and that takes a lot of stress out of it, right?
And I want to say, before anybody starts like calling us out on something, I'm pretty sure in this one it said either or.
Like, and there's even gay men too.
Yeah.
So gay men if a man did a man,
it's less about the gender and more about the age difference, right? Yeah, and it just makes sense, right? Like because it's like, okay, if I'm 21 and my partner is 28, right? That is a massive difference.
I think they're already financially ahead. Yeah. I don't have to worry and stress. I can do what I want.
Think about yourself at 21, right? Like what the hell were you doing? Probably not a whole lot.
Drinking.
Right? Yeah. Or like trying to figure it out, right? You're still in that time of very, stressed. Maybe you're still going to school. You probably don't have a career yet, right? And so the older person ends up just like taking on that burden of responsibility in a lot of aspects, financial, like you said, accountability, whatever it is. So
yeah, I think at the end of the day, we got to understand, like, okay, I'm 5 years apart. Amanda's getting the better of it. What the fuck? But also, who tends to be more stressed?
Yeah.
Who tends to care more about the financial end? Who tends to like do that stuff? It's probably the older individual within a relationship.
Yeah, and it just comes from like experience, just time, difference, experiences that you had, wisdom, whatever it is. And so you're just at different like points in your life.
And this is why she's so chilled. I need to change this out.
Yeah.
We're like, look at here, woman. And then I'm in the doghouse.
You're sleeping outside.
Roof. All right, let's go to studies. The first study is about estrogen-related receptors could be the key to treating metabolic and muscular disorders. Researchers confirm and explore the role of estrogen-related receptors regulating energy production in muscle cells during exercise. The findings indicate development of drug to boost estrogen-related receptors could be a powerful way to restore energy supplies in people with metabolic disorders such as muscular dystrophy.
It's funny. Long time ago, we had an interview. We were talking to someone that we knew, and he had mentioned that estrogen is very important in building muscle.
Yep.
And a lot of the issues that arise whenever people are taking tools,
testosterone,
is that they will, you think, okay, well, I need a lot of testosterone and I need to really lower my estrogen, right? That's how you build muscle, right? That makes sense. And so then they do all of this, and sure, they might build a lot of muscle, but then their hormones are out of whack later, or they don't build as much as they thought they were going to, right? And it's because estrogen is also important in building muscle.
But not just building muscle, but in joint pain and ligament
healing. Oh my God, yeah.
And I noticed that when I did my experiment of taking myself off the estrogen.
Yep. Blocker. Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, like it makes a difference. My joints started hurting a little bit.
You're not as flexible. You're not as relaxed, right? All these issues arise. And I think it's a problem. Yeah. Because it's like a lot of the research that we have from testosterone is from people who have just taken it and without a doctor's, instruction. And so we learn these things. And so it's not all about just getting a high testosterone level you have to make sure you're balanced.
Yeah. Study number 2, exercise and eat your veggies. Privileged prescriptions like these don't always reduce the risk of heart disease. A leading cardiovascular disease researchers is ringing the alarm on universal recommendations to improve heart health around the globe. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death worldwide, with 80% of deaths occurring to low and middle income countries. However, international heart health guidelines are primarily based on research on high income countries and often overlook upstream causes of CVD, and according to experts. So, okay, I'm going to give you a perfect example. One of this is I had a client who's a nurse or was a nurse, and she was in California. And she would say, like, doctors don't meet the patients where they're at. And it could be like, they need less sodium, right? And they're like, all I can afford is canned veggies. Well, something like rinsing it out a little bit could help, or something like that. And they're like, that's all I can do. So you're assuming the clientele can afford a certain food lifestyle, or they live in a food desert.
You know, it's funny. I was on Instagram today and I was looking at Food Lies. And I'm sure you've seen that account. And for the most part, I normally agree with a lot of what that person has to say about things. Mm-hmm. And they had showed this one post. I don't know if you saw
Everybody
it.
can afford meat, right?
I don't know if you saw it. Yeah. And so there's this post from someone else, and they were talking about the Make America Healthy Again thing. And they were saying that the reduction of the accessibility of like processed foods is going to impact a lot of households and mothers or people who stay at home to take care of the kids and things like that, because a lot of people don't have the luxury of going to a farmer's market every day or buying organic or the time or whatever it is, right? There's some sort of boundary in it. And
also, they may need food shelf
they
stable items.
Sustainability, right? They may need something that lasts a long time. They may need something that can feed a lot of people.
I'm going to give you a perfect example of my personal life. I remember going down clearance aisles when I was like really broke.
Yeah.
And the decisions I would make because I was stressed and I thought this is the one time I could get that item versus now me going and I'm like, I don't really need it.
Yeah.
So you're assuming everybody's economic stress
and the thing
is different.
That bothered me, about that post is that I was like, I understand where this person's coming from, but in the response in the caption from Food Lies, he was kind of like, "This is so stupid. Like, I can't believe someone would say something like this. Like, it's better to eat healthy. Like, blah blah whatever." But I'm like, isn't that part of the issue where we're assuming, right, that everybody can do this? That people have.
I'll give you a perfect example. I live on the northwest side of San Antonio, and so they're like, it's a choice that people like are broke because they're just spending money. When in reality, have you been to the other side of town and have you really seen how hard they work and how much less they're getting?
Because but
they barely can get anyway.
We both lived in the not best parts of San Antonio.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and it's like it's funny because now I go back and I'm like, oh fuck.
I thought that it was normal.
I thought I was living, pretty normal life around here, but I look at it now and I'm like, oh my god.
How much easier to make how much calmer are your decisions because you're out of that situation?
So much, dude. It's so different, and you don't realize until you're out of it, right? And then now
I'll give you a perfect example between us two. I grew up with two parents. You grew up with one.
Yep.
It probably affected that it was easier for me to change than it was for you to change.
It's so funny. I was just talking to Camille about some stuff the other day, and we were talking about like household chores or something like that. And she was like, when you were younger, like what were your chores or whatever? And I was like, I didn't really have any. And it's not that I didn't do anything. It's just that my parents weren't home. They were at work. They were working 2 jobs or working overnight or whatever. So like, I didn't have chores.
You didn't get parenting.
I just did shit because it had to get done. I like had to, okay, well, I guess I got to wash my own clothes or else I'm not going to get it, or whatever. Or like you said, I wasn't parented. I didn't know, I got to like wash the dishes. Like what? Like, and it's just like, cause nobody was around. So I just didn't know.
And this is why we don't like making like universal, like this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
Like when that kid asked us the other day, how should I build my shoulder? I was like, well, what are you doing? How long have you worked at? Like, those are like questions we asked, but this is where I would be like, oh, this builds muscle. This builds muscle. Well, what way do you want to go?
Yeah. If we were anybody else, we would have been like, you got to do this exercise, that exercise, you got to eat this much, that much, whatever. And that's it.
And it's great because it gives you like clarity, but it doesn't give you the right direction for you.
Right. Because he could take that and maybe that's a clear direction, but it could be the exact wrong direction. Right.
And then we're just pushing them further away the other way.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you like what we're doing, you can share on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe. Hit that notifications button.
Bell.
And then our website is strengthsolutionspodcast.com. Free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com is our email. And our web social media is Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, Strength Solutions Podcast. And come in April 1st, check it out.
See ya.
Peace out.